All right, morning, guys. Obviously, very excited to start the season. It's been a long time coming. Obviously, a tremendous off season with a lot of things going, but it comes down to now we get to play the games, and this is what it's all about. The guys work tirelessly all off season, starting January, leading us up to this week. Couldn't be more excited to open up the season at home. You know, for some of our fans to see the renovations and the construction occurring in the stadium, it's going to be exciting to get back in front and playing in front of our home crowd. 6 o'clock on Saturday. We expect a full house, so if you haven't already gotten your tickets, make sure you go ahead and get them and show up and be loud and proud. North Alabama, obviously a team that's had some success in their history. You know, they're coming off a tough loss that was closer than the score may indicate. They played Florida State last season. We're actually up at Florida State in Tallahassee, 13-0 midway through the second quarter. So they've played, quote unquote, major Division I programs and have held their own. They actually played pretty damn hard in that game, and we expect we're going to get their absolute best. You know, last week they averaged 6 yards a carry versus SEMO. They've got a preseason All-American wide receiver that's actually in his 7th year. They've got an All-American returner that transferred into their system. They also have returned 15 of 22 starters. So you sit there and talk about, man, well, it's just an FCS. No, they're going to bring everything they got. And one of the concerns for me is they've actually already played a game. Okay, and we always talk about week 1 in college football. You just go back to those week 0 games and see a lot of the blunders. You know, a lot of teams that could have given away games, teams that were highly favored that came a lot closer, upsets, all those things, ball security, penalties. Those are concerns always going into week 1. And now we're facing a team that's already played a game. So they've already had their quote-unquote dress rehearsal and know what it's like to play full speed. You can practice, you can do all those things, but there's nothing like the live bullets flying in a full game. So we're going to have to bring our A game. It's going to have to be a great week of preparation and see what we're capable of going out and doing. But couldn't be more excited to get this thing started, and especially to do so at Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium.
Ryan, the depth chart is out, and a guy like Javon Dennis on the D-line. Just what about him did you see that kind of pushed him up toward that top?
You know, Javon Dennis is a guy that, came in and like anybody that comes into the program, nobody's handed anything. Nobody's been guaranteed, hey, you come here, this is what you're going to get. He just impressed every single day and got better. And he was one of those that, I think when he got here, he may have been rolling with the fives, and just kind of every day just showed up, learned the system, okay? And then once he learned the system, okay, how can I get better? And then just improved every single day. And he's a young man that, when he went in the portal, I watched his film, and, he had some other offers, and he may not be the tallest guy in the world, the longest guy in the world, but he's really, really explosive. We like to use the term quick twitch, and he is, and he's got a great get off, he uses his hands really well, and was able to see that on film, and I think now he's been able to build off some of those great attributes, and I think he's going to be a key contributor for us this season.
And then Chris Adams, another guy. What Jeff Myers talked a lot about what he liked about him. What did you see in Chris Adams?
Yeah, Chris is one of those guys that was a starter at ODU. He had some success with ODU guys. Obviously everybody wants to talk about the success Blake Watson had here, and then in fact I called Blake about Chris. I said, tell me about this guy. He's a coach. You gotta love him. He's your type of guy. He's really athletic. And Chris is really, really capable. He's one of those guys that you watch him and I just use the term quick twitch. He's super athletic, got the length. And he's a guy that improved every single day, right? Like, I feel really comfortable. We've got him and a guy like Jalen Nichols that both have the ability to be a starting tackle at the University of Memphis. And they've both I've been pleasantly surprised with them. Coach Myers does a fantastic job developing those offensive linemen along with the rest of his staff. I always tell everybody I'm the 4th string offensive line coach here, so sometimes they let me work with them. But no, Chris has been phenomenal, and excited to see what he's capable of this year.
Since you're on the line, tell me about Trent Holler, because I think there was other guys that were in the mix on that.
Yeah, so Trent, is a guy that transferred in from Marshall. He wasn't able to participate this spring, but he was here in January, and so for a lot of our guys, they sat there and said, well, we didn't even know anything about him, but he was coming off an injury all spring, and just a guy that's played a lot of football and experience. He's smart and tough. He understands how to call a game, and it helps having an experienced quarterback behind him. You lose a guy like Jacob Lykes, been a 3-year starter, that's smart and tough, and they can call a good game, as we like to say. Well, that pairs well with a vet quarterback, but if you're going to have a center that's new but has game experience paired with a vet quarterback, we feel really comfortable. I think Trent's done a really nice job all training camp and leading into week 1 to prove that he's a starting center.
Ryan, any surprises on your 2 deep?
No, I think that, I like the depth. I really do. I go back and I look at, and someone had mentioned this to me, a couple weeks ago. In 2018, that team actually had 19 NFL guys on that roster. Probably the most talented roster. And look, we're going to recruit our tails off. We're going to do really well. That's probably the most talented roster in maybe Memphis history. 19 NFL guys on and that team finished 8-6. We got a lot of talent here, and we have higher expectations for what we need to do here. So, but I like our depth. I'm not saying we got 19 NFL guys on our roster, but we got guys that I think can compete. And I think that's one of the reasons why fans will sit there and say, well, why all these oars? Everybody's capable of, and that's a good thing. It'd be really bad if I just had one guy listed at 2 deep, and you guys are saying, well, who's the backup? Well, frankly, we really don't have anybody good enough to be the backup. That would be a shame. But pleased with that. No major surprises. Competition continues to go on, right? And knock on wood, injuries occurred during the season. So I don't want to get back. I remember Jarvis and I having the conversation 2 years ago. We played 13 different defensive backs. I hope we don't get to that point. But we have guys ready. And there's going to be guys that may not even make the travel squad week 1. We've all seen it. Guys that are going to show up in 2 weeks that are going to be on special teams. Then guys that are performing on special teams now all of a sudden finding a role. Oh, wait, they're getting on the field in 3rd down. So, we constantly monitoring, constantly seeing. It's our job as coaches, right, during this long season is to continue to get guys to develop and progress. And, I always love to see guys that can step up because that means the competition is getting better and better. But I do like our depth, and we're going to certainly need it this year.
Probably no Reggie Grimes on the 2 deep. Is that a competition thing or something else?
No, a competition thing. Reggie did, last year wasn't able to play at the University of Oklahoma due to injury. So a lot of that is, continue to monitor those guys and make sure we don't want to put guys that are on the field that aren't fully healthy. Guys battle through, nicks and things of that nature. But if a guy physically can't go for a certain period of time, we're going to be smart with them. Reggie's tough. We're really excited he's part of this team. As you guys know, we added a lot of D-line depth, though. And so you're sitting there saying, well, he's not here, but, oh, these guys are. And so, look, I expect Reggie Grimes to play a lot of significant and meaningful football for us this year, and we'll see what happens.
Coach, week 1, sometimes you lay out your clothes for the first day of school. It's week 1 for you. Do you have any rituals of like game week, game day that you have to do to make sure you'll not forget for the first game?
This year 26 now for me, Devin, and it's, I'm getting an old man. 9th year here at Memphis, so a 3rd of my career here. But what's happened with me is, obviously the school year starts and you get into a routine, and it's like everything. You want to stay to that routine to the best of your ability. Now, adversity hits, all things occur, but I stay pretty dialed in, especially as we get close to it. This is what I'm going to do. I try my best. Like the only night I try to eat ice cream is the night before a game, right? It's there in front of the buffet. I try to turn it down every other time, but I get my normal deal. The most night of sleep I actually get the night before a game, and everybody would say, wow, isn't that crazy? But the coach to go do bed check. I jump in bed, start reading a book. I put my cell phone up, and generally, people say, "Did you watch another game?" I try to go to bed, and that's when I get my most sleep. No, I can't promise I do that. Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday throughout the week, but just stick with those things and just try to be consistent with it. But obviously, like a lot of things come up, right? It may be recruiting, it may be something else, but I try to stick with this is routine. I'm not, left sock on first, special socks. Generally, I'm going to wear, my dogs on my socks. That's about it, as I normally do. That's about the only fashion sense I have. But yeah, that's about all I got.
Do you already have the first game fit laid out? Like, do you have like the coaching look for the first game like laid out on the field?
So you know good and well, Devin, I have zero swag about myself. Our new athletic director, if you want to talk about swag, he's got it. Dr. Ed Scott does it. He's dressed to the nines. He looks good, and our players will look good. But no, I have not thought about what I'll wear for game 1. It's probably going to be the same suit that two suits I've had since middle school that somehow crazily fit me. But as my weight does this, so do the suit. Sometimes I look like an idiot in it, fat guy in a little coat, and other times it's hanging off me, hopefully later in the season. But I haven't picked it out. But maybe if I get to that point in my career, you can help me with my fashion and all that stuff. Absolutely, that'd be great. So, you can.
What's the team wearing? Has that been decided?
It has, and I like as always. I'm usually the last to know all that stuff. Greg, it was one of those. When I first became head coach, I wanted my hands in everything. Now, as we've talked about, the role that is asked of me every single day has changed completely different from when I took the head job. When I took the head job, I had time to, hey, let's figure out what's going on in social media videos. I want to see every video that goes out. I want to see what uniforms we're wearing. I want to be a part of that. I care about the pregame music. Now that I don't know if there's enough time in the day for me to even consider getting to what that stuff is. And there's a lot guys with more swag, and they're a lot cooler than me that kind of figure out the uniform. And I let those people decide as long as it's within reason. I will tell the fans, unfortunately, there's no new uniforms, nothing crazy. I've been a pretty traditionalist as far as, we've already got plenty of them. I'm not chasing Dan Lanning in the Oregon uniform fit, so we'll find out. I'm sure they'll do the release video and all that stuff.
Right, the backup quarterback.
Coach, how important is it to you to, you obviously Memphis favored in the first game, but to try to get your backup quarterback in and some of those kind of people that you really need to take a look at, just for farther down the road in case?
That's the last thing on my mind. This is going to be a 4-quarter battle. We're going to have to go out there, and we can't look at that any other way. Now, hopefully, the guys that are listed in the 2 deep, they're backups. That's why we practice, is if they have to go into a game and put those guys in different situations. The other night, Jarvis, we did a mock game, like a dress rehearsal, and we had a 2-minute situation that it was scheduled for Seth to go in and work this 2-minute situation. It was minute 32. 1 timeout, down 5. All right, 1 timeout. Seth's in the huddle. I pull Seth from the huddle immediately, put in one of the other quarterbacks, and Kramer's like, "What are you doing?" Well, this real life situation. So I've got to prepare. We've all got to prepare guys to the best of their ability. But my thoughts and one day at a time, one game at a time. But I don't think anything other than it's going to take us all 4 quarters to go out there and handle our business.
But speaking of the backups,
What can you tell us about your number 2 QB?
Yeah, well, here's the deal. I believe that every quarterback in our room, this is not coach speak, is capable of. It was literally, I could have done a bunch more R's, and then y'all would have gotten mad at me and saying, why there are these R's at the quarterback situation? But, he's kind of proven that what he's capable of, to go out there and do it at a high level day in, day out, athletic enough. He's still young. I know a lot of the, fans don't know much about him, but I think he can go out there and do it at a high level, arm strength, understands our offense. Has become a student of the game, and look, if his number's called, he'll be ready.
Ryan, where are you injury-wise just going into this game?
Yeah, so just so you guys know, Cortland Marsh is probably done for the regular season, okay? So he had a significant injury that will have him out for the rest of the foreseeable couple months. So I always try to be forthright with you guys on that, not try to hide on that stuff. So he'll be on the shelf, but he did a tremendous job. He was one of those guys that's competing for a starting safety job, and so unfortunate news for him. But he's already excited to come back. This is his first year here, but he's already saying, I'll be ready for next. And then other than that, we feel pretty good. Other than the ones you guys knew from the spring, I feel relatively like we're a healthy team going into this. You always worry about soft tissue stuff, hamstrings, as you go into training camp, and the practices start to stack up. But feel pretty good where we're at, Jonah.
Coach, I was out eating yesterday, and I was hearing rumblings of conversations about Memphis football. Like, are you excited for the game? For you, how do you manage the expectations with the guys so they know how important the season is?
Yeah. Without sounding like coach speak, every season's important, right? I mean, I don't think there's ever a head coach that says, well, last year wasn't as important. I mean, they're all, unfortunately or fortunately, I live every day like it's the ultimate last day. Like, man, we've got to maximize this day. And I pour that into our players as well. And so I don't want them to sit there and stress about the expectations on the outside. And you guys have heard me say, and I mentioned it a couple weeks ago, is, for me, Devin, like, the expectations on the outside are great. That means people are talking about Memphis football. And as you guys know, 14 years ago, they weren't talking about Memphis football. Not one bit. It was, what a downtrodden program it had become. And to hear national pundits and people talk about the program and where it's at and the expectations, that's a great thing. But like I even said last time, in these walls, nobody's got higher expectations than those coaches working their tails off upstairs and the players that come to work every single day. They've got their own expectations for themselves. In reality, those expectations don't mean a damn thing either. It's the standard that we're living by every single day, the standards of what we got to do in the classroom, the standards of what we do in the community, and the standards of what we need to do on the field in order to be success. We have our goal, right? And let's make no bones about it, it's to win the conference championship. And our guys get that. But I told them, and you guys hear me say this all the time, let's have just such a great focus. Let's go 1-0 today. And if I can get our guys to buy into it, and ignore any outside noise, positive or negative, myself included. I think we'll look up in December and say, okay, where are we at now? Good, did we meet what we needed to get done?
So I hear guys like Nick Saban talk about on Cobb game, they say Memphis State, that's the team to watch out for. Like, how do you make sure guys don't see that and be like, okay, we got it?
Yeah, the size 11 shoe on my foot will make sure that we don't sit there and say we got it. We have not accomplished a damn thing. Like I always say, me as a head coach, I've got a lot more work to do, and that's every single day, and our team understands that. I challenged our offense. Oh, just because you were good last year, Seth, and again, that does not mean anything. Last year stands its own merits, your stats, all those things. And so our guys understand we've got to be better. Last year was not good enough, and there's only one end result in how this can go, and that we can all leave with a smile on our face. And our guys understand that, and it's my job is to make sure that everybody, all 200 people in this organization, understand that there's no rest for the weary. We got to continue to go out there and work and grind to find ways to be successful and be 1-0 today.
Ryan,
For this week specifically, go ahead, John.
Okay, I know we shouldn't read too much into the or on the depth chart, obviously, but at running back, what can we expect in terms of workload between Sutton and Mario?
Yeah, I think they're both extremely capable running backs. I mean, literally, you can flip a coin and say, Sutton has been dynamic and Mario's been wonderful. And I think that's a positive, right? And we've all talked like, Ryan, do you really want 4 or 5 running backs? Well, look, Brandon Thomas is still a really good back. Greg Desiree has done some really good things. So, there's going to be some personnel packages. We're going to go out there with 2 running backs on the field. We did the same. I think about all those years where we had, Patrick Taylor and Tony Pollard on the field at one time, right? Antonio Gibson, Patrick Taylor, Darrell Henderson, Tony Pollard. You sit there and think about all those guys. Darrell, those are good things. And so both those guys are capable. Plus, hey, is this guy maybe more of an outside zone runner? Is this guy maybe more of a power runner? And so those are things that we'll always do. We're going to continue to put together different packages for them. But it's a nice thing. That's one of those R's that you sit there and say, oh, good, this is whoever it is. And literally, they're both deserving. And I always tell our players, we tell them all the time, like, let's not get caught up in number of starts. I had to explain to our freshmen that Rock Taylor's only started 1 season here, and they're all like, wait, Rock Taylor's only started 1 season here? Absolutely. Joe Skates, who has a good chance to make the Jacksonville Jaguars, averaged 1.9 catches a game here. Started, I think, 4 games last year. Antonio Gibson started 5 games here and was a 3rd-round draft pick. So I don't get caught up into the starts, right? Ultimately, when you go on the field, if you get 5 touches, make them all great. It's no different than practice.
Ryan, for this week specifically, your guys have heard, I'm sure, a little bit of the hype and how great they are for the last, whatever it is, 6-7 months. I know you don't pay attention to gambling lines. You guys are like 39-point favorites. The message this week about not overlooking this team and looking past them on the schedule, how do you go about that with them?
Yeah, we got to go to work, and they understand that. I put up the Florida State score. They were up 13-0 midway through the quarter on an undefeated Florida State team last year. If we don't show up, we're going to be in for a rude awakening. And again, part of that's the first game. We got to be able to take care of the football. We got to be able to block well, tackle well. And I think, last week, and I don't look at spreads either, but SMU was a significant favorite over Nevada. If Nevada didn't drop that kickoff, you could have been talking about the biggest upset in college football, and maybe what's happened in week 0 for the entire year, because you've got to go out there and handle your business. There's going to be a lot of unknowns, right, for us. We had to get them underneath the lights the other night because we hadn't had a chance to even practice under our own stadium lights, the temporary ones going up. And I was like, wait a second, guys. See the shadows where they're cast here, see the brightness of that. And those are things that, now all of a sudden the wind that has been talked about, those are significant things for me, and especially since they played a game already. Our guys are dialed in, and that's my job, right? If we're not prepared, shame on me. But I'm going to make sure our guys understand the importance and significance of this, because the rest of the season doesn't matter if we don't handle our business this Saturday.
Ryan, what do you think of the special teams, specifically your new kicker and punter?
Yep. So obviously we're thrilled to have Cox back as our long snapper and short snapper. He does a tremendous job. I actually think Kobe has a chance to be an NFL type snapper. And then you talk about adding Caden Costa, the transfer. I think he's got a tremendous leg. I think he does a lot of good things. Hopefully he's kicking extra points a lot rather than field goals, but he's capable of doing all those. Tristan Vanderberg will still handle our kickoffs, strong leg. You remember he was one of the ones that got hurt last year when we had 2 kickers all of a sudden go down in the same practice, which is a nightmare scenario that hopefully never happens again. I don't know why I'm still coaching. And then, pleased, and then obviously we added the Aussie, you know, and I think he's doing a tremendous job. I think it's a different weapon than what he can do. Josh Sloan's been fantastic. Again, hopefully we're not using him a lot, but you add those transfer specialists, you get a little concerned. But they've done a nice job in the practices.
What would you say the range of Costa is?
Yeah, it's a great question. You know, I think I feel comfortable probably up to 50 yards. We'll see. You know, that wind is different though in Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium. There's certainly a different flow to it. You know, with the west side being down, and it's like, yeah, hard to measure all that. And I was joking around. I said something about the barometric pressure on the TV show the other day. Like, I don't know what the hell that means, but I'm sure something that's affecting the northwest to west winds going through the stadium. But Costa's got a strong enough leg and feel very comfortable with him.
Right, what was it like playing in the stadium the other night? Was it a little bit eerie, kind of having half the chunk of the stadium out there? Or?
Yeah, you know, it was kind of neat. You know, what it shows is progress. You know, and that to me is as exciting as anything. It's, you know, you always talk about former Tigers that come and tell you, yeah, they promised me that indoor in the 80s, you know, and like, man, just go go shovel some dirt, you know, and go, let's show there's progress. And I think that to me more than anything, and being here as long as I have, it adds excitement. And I take a lot of pride in understanding the history of this program. I take a lot of pride in being here as long as I have, because that doesn't happen much in college football. And so I've embraced this, and I get to see a historic stadium going through a major facelift, and it's a beautiful thing. You know, people may make their jokes and all that stuff, but I think it's really neat. It's actually pretty cool with what's going on with it, and it's going to be really, really nice for years ahead. So it was different for sure. Getting a feel, hey, how the sun is now, right? I mean, our guys aren't used to having the sun directly on them because of the old press box. I mean, there's some different things, the wind, that you get used to, right? We hope that all the wiring is correct. I mean, you guys got to understand, we talked about this. Jonah, you've asked about it before, like the coach-to-player communication, right? There's a fiber optic cable wired correctly for the instant replay. We have 18 tablets now on the sideline. Like, people forget, like, all these new additions to college football. Oh, by the way, you're doing a major deal to your stadium as all that work as well. So it was a dress rehearsal for a lot of people Saturday night, and I'll just say I was just as anxious to make sure that all the bells and whistles were working, so we go out there and just focus on what occurs in between the white lines.
Thanks for reminding me about the helmet, Mike. I was going to ask about that. Defensively, you talked about earlier.
That's what I'm here for, to make sure.
So tell me what
I got a few more other questions I can get you, softball ones.
you talked about earlier in the offseason on defense, kind of deciding maybe a safety, maybe a linebacker. Has that been figured out, or still working through that?
Yeah, still working through. I think that may even change game to game, right? And I don't think there's we're not going to tell the opposing team who it may be. You know, I think most teams, and it was interesting to kind of look at what occurred in week 0, like what teams were doing, how was it really? Because you can't replicate it. We have not had a chance to go out there and, you know, 17, 16, all right, Jordan, shut up. You know, you can't stop, you got to stop talking, you know, and so, like, we haven't been able to replicate that 15-second cutoff prior to it. But, you know, we have enough guys on defense that we feel that could go do it, you know, possibly a linebacker, possibly a safety.
You like the 2-minute warning?
You know, it's interesting because everybody says we're trying to become more like the NFL, but reality of it is, right, let's go back, and I don't mean to get off the question. We added 18 tablets that now have sideline view, end zone view, and a television copy view that you can get within 3 seconds of the play. And it's a full-blown copy. You can watch the entire film right there. The NFL has still shots. No video, just a true still shot sideline end zone. So we've totally advanced this thing past what the NFL is doing. And I think a lot of decisions are made because, oh, that sounds good. And people say, does this add another timeout? Supposedly one of the media timeouts is used in the 2-minute situation. Preferably, look, it doesn't matter whether I like it or not. I think that one of the things I've done a decent job at is game management. I think that just adds a chance for coaches that maybe aren't as good to sit there and take a pause and try to figure things out. It's also had to make me rework my math in 2-minute situations, when to use a timeout, what to do, also 4-minute situations. So we've had to practice those things. Okay, hey, we got the ball, we're up 9 points, all right, 3 minutes and 36 seconds, defense has 2 timeouts, and a 2-minute warning. So now I've had to recalculate in my brain, okay, when can we take a knee? When can we tell our running back to go down after the first down? 2-minute situation, hey, don't worry about getting out of bounds on this play with 2:06 left. It's okay just to get the first down and keep going. And so there's a lot of those things that have now changed my thought process, and I've got to be great on game day on those things. But look, next year we're going to be sitting here talking about some new rule change and some new transfer thing and something else, and that's okay. Great. It's my job to adapt and overcome and put our guys in the best situation to have success.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.